Slick on the beat.
What's up, fight fans? It's your boy Nick from NickFortellaMMA.com. Today, I'm talking with newly professional mixed martial artist, Justin the Machine Osborn. Justin, how are you doing, buddy?
I'm good. How about yourself?
I'm doing well. And first and foremost, as always, thanks for coming on and donating a little bit of your time to do the interview so we can kind of get you out to the MMA world since you just recently had your first pro fight. Big question, and this is one I have to ask. The nicknames, I like reading them all. Why the Machine? How did that come about?
Well, it came about for a couple of reasons. It was actually given to me by my Muay Thai instructor, Chris Lovell. And in Thailand, when your crew or your teacher, gives you your fight name, you have to stick with it. That's kind of the tradition. John Wayne Parr is a really good example of that. But yeah, so I got that because it was like he could tell me a technique and I could just get it really fast. But it has to be explained to us. Once it's explained to me in a certain way, I got it,
Right.
immediately. And then plus I can eat a horse pretty much. So like after weigh-ins, it gets crazy after weigh-ins because people think I'm gonna slow down, but I just don't. I I mean, I don't eat as much as I don't pig out as bad as I used to, especially cutting down to 55. But
Right.
But I take it slow, but it's like but I mean the way I can analyze my opponents and stuff, it's kind of like you ever see like the Terminator and he's like he's like locked onto his target and stuff and he's like analyzing, he's putting all the data in. That's kind of how I fight. I just analyze the opponent. I've got the data in, then I know, okay, this is what I got to do. And so I guess it's got a lot of layers to it, but that's the simple explanation.
Yeah, you beat me to the movie reference. I was going to say it's kind of like Neo in the Matrix where they stick him in the chair and they just type something and he's like, I know Kung Fu, like in 2 seconds.
Yeah, it's very similar to that actually.
See, we just plugged 2 classic movies as well, which is always a good thing.
Oh man, I love those. I love those movies. I mean, how can't you love The Matrix or Terminator, man? Like,
oh, you can't not. You'd be wrong.
Yeah, you wouldn't be welcome in my household.
Yeah, no, it's just not a thing. So now, as an amateur, you were actually very successful. You were 6-1. You had 4 finishes. You hold amateur titles in New Orleans and in Denver. What was kind of your turning point where you knew it was time to step out of the Amis and into the professionals?
The turning point was when I was training in Denver, and obviously I got a first round finish, but that finish was actually the second time I choked somebody just unconscious. So I've already choked 2 guys unconscious. And then I've only had 1 pro fight. Most people don't get to do that once in their whole career, and I've done it twice. But it was that, and it was just, your record speaks for itself, right? So if I'm 6-1, my one loss was a very controversial split decision. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and bitch and cry about it or nothing, but when you knock down your opponent 3 times and you don't get knocked down or taken down once, I mean, you're
thinking you should have won.
Yeah, I mean, I gave my opponent couldn't even put together a coherent sentence. Yet I'm here, and I mean, he did good stuff too. Don't get me wrong, but it wasn't. My strikes were more significant, and so it's kind of like my one loss was kind of weird, and I was actually going to go pro after that fight. But it ended up obviously not going my way. And that dude's a tough fighter too. I mean, I give him all the credit in the world for weathering the storm and coming back strong the way he did. But I'm that's definitely a fight I would love to get back because I know what I'm capable of, and I know it kind of still burns me up inside because I learned after that to have more composure after you get a knockdown, not to go crazy,
Right.
go, hot damn, I got him. Like, no, just like take your time, kind of like Ricky Bandejas just did to Gallagher. He got the one knockdown and he was just took his time and picked him apart, so the next time I knock somebody down like that, I'm going to take my time and pick them apart. But my amateur record speaks for itself. I mean, I've finished most of my opponents, and then the other thing too, I thought about it, and I was like, man, if I do another amateur fight, it's just kind of like jogging in place. I'm not actually going to get better because I need the competition to push me to push me to greater levels of skill.
Right.
Like in the amateur ranks, you can get away with making a lot of mistakes. And at the pro level, as you progress, the less mistakes that you can make and get away with. So I knew I needed the push in order to just get better too.
So that loss might have actually, I mean, I know you want to get it back, but it might have actually been a good thing. It made you kind of step back, maybe reevaluate a little bit. So, as long as, and I hate kicking a dead horse, but they all, the saying is you win or you learn. And
Yeah.
so it might have not been, a horrible loss. You took something from it.
Yeah. I took something from it. I mean, I don't really buy into the whole you win, you learn concept,
Right.
but you definitely learn more from losing than you do from winning. I mean,
Right.
your mistakes are more, like, paramount, I guess. And I
Sure.
learned from that fight, a couple of different, I learned from that fight, hey, if I just make different decisions, that it could have gone the other way, and I could have finished him, or maybe I would have gotten the decision instead.
Right.
You just never know. I'm a competitor through and through, and it's like the greater the challenge in front of me, the greater I'll perform. So
Right. So you step up to rather than kind of shy back, you're looking to step through whatever's in front, even if it is the greatest challenge you've had.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's champion mindset. So now, I know you have the two amateur titles. Do you remember where in your career, did you get one early or did you grab them both at the end? How did they kind of come about? Because
So the first amateur title I fought for was for Battle of New Orleans, and it was after I put this guy to sleep with a rear naked choke. I was enjoying myself. I was taking my week off of training, enjoying myself. I was eating a bowl of chicken Alfredo pasta.
look
And
at
then
this guy.
right? And then I get a text from my coach that says, hey man, you got a title fight in NOLA in 3 weeks. I was like, I put the bowl of pasta down and then I was just like, all right, here we go. And, that fight actually, ended up being a pretty fun fight. It was a barn burner. The fans loved it. I came out and brought it, hit the guy with a Superman punch. He was tough as hell, man. I mean, that dude ate every shot I brought to him, man. It was it was crazy. So I ended up winning that one by split decision, which was really weird because their coaches were complaining to the Louisiana Commission, like they wanted to actually overturn the decision, which was very odd. But then the commissioner told them that fight should have been scored 30-27 for your opponent. So.
Right. So you already got a little bit of the pass on the split decision.
Yeah. So I guess learning from that, it kind of created it was, I think it was only the second time I went to decision. Then after that was when I lost a fight via split decision. I took another fight. So I had a fight, I had one fight, took another fight in 3 weeks, then I took the next fight in 6 weeks notice. I was kind of like, oh, I can do this. I could be like Donald Cerrone, and then, and in that fight too, I crashed and burned. I crashed and burned a little bit toward the end of the third round,
Right.
of that loss. So it kind of made me step back. I took about like an 8-month break. So I fought. That fight was in June of last year, and then I didn't fight till March of this year. And then that's when I got my amateur title shot in Denver. And I fought a guy that was, a pretty game opponent. He was actually the first guy to ever take me down in my whole career at that point. But I popped up to my feet. I threw a few strikes, and then he got, I hit him with a good 2-3, and then after I hit him with those 2 shots, they connected pretty flush, and he was scared at that point. And so he took me down, I got up, and then I went for a guillotine, which he got me down on the floor, but then I popped back up, and then when I popped back up, I saw his hands dropped like to his waist, so I threw a head kick, and then he dropped for another takedown. I sprawled and I hit an anaconda choke on him and put him to sleep. And but I guess another reason why I'm going pro, I made the decision too, was because I've done everything. I have experienced every kind of fight as an amateur. I've gotten submissions, I've got a knockout, I've went to decision. I've experienced everything that you can experience in a career, so nothing will ever be unfamiliar to me.
Right. So now your pro debut was also at Battle of New Orleans, correct? And
Yes.
you finished that fight inside of a round with a guillotine choke. You seem to be pretty efficient with your submission game, but you're very well rounded. Did that kind of happen? I know some fighters pick certain areas. Like there's guys they're good at everything, but they're great at, let's say, wrestling. When you started into the MMA journey, did you make it a point from the get-go to make sure that you were as well-rounded as you could possibly be as an amateur, so you didn't have to make up ground as a professional?
Yeah, I mean, my coach, Jimmy Mills, I give him a lot of credit for this. He said, I'm not going to let you take your first amateur fight until you get double gold in every tournament every grappling tournament you go to, right?
Okay.
So, I think he really just did that to see if I was committed to this or not, and to see, like, what kind of competitor I was. So, I got double gold in every tournament, from white belt to blue belt, and then, I got every double gold from white belt, and then he let me take my first amateur fight, but I kept doing tournaments, and I was getting double gold as a blue belt too in jiu-jitsu. And so, I give him a lot of credit for that because, it gives you a lot of confidence, to know you can go in there and finish, not only on the feet, but you've got a lot of submission. The majority of my grappling matches have actually ended with submission wins too.
That's a
So
good thing.
it's like, yeah, exactly. And it's something where like I feel like when I'm fighting, like my opponent's greatest opponent is not me. It's actually the clock. It's time. Because I mean for them, it's for me, it's only a matter of time till I figure you out. And once I figure you out, I feel like I can put anybody away. But, I mean, the guys that have gone to decision against me, they have been in a lot of pain, just because I figure out your weakness and I attack that weakness constantly, whatever it is.
So your biggest opponent is, can I figure this out sooner than later? It's almost like a mental chess match while you're fighting.
Sure, yeah. And once I mean, my opponent is my biggest opponent too in a way, but from a physical standpoint, but from the mental standpoint is, okay, like, he's doing this, Okay, how do I counteract that? Oh, he didn't like this. Let's do that again. You know, and then once he figures that out, I figure something else that he doesn't like very much, and I just go and I just keep going and going and going until he can't go anymore, or until the last bell goes. But I'm not
So
going to stop.
you're good at adjusting on the fly, which is also something that's better to learn earlier than later.
Yeah, I mean, because I've hit a Superman punch in like three or four of my fights. I've hit Superman punches, and those came from like adjustments on the fly.
Right.
They weren't like planned out. You know, I don't even practice that very much, but
It
for
just
some
kind of
reason,
happened.
yeah,
It
exactly.
looked like it would fit, so it fit.
What'd you
So
say?
I said it looked like it fit, so you made it fit. That's it.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't have to like think about it. You know, I just kind of react.
Good. That's an instinctual skill. So
Yeah,
now, right now though, you're training out of Port City MMA. How long have you been training there?
so I've been training there since, let's see here, it'd be 2013, but this past year I spent half the year at Factory X Muay Thai in Denver, under Mark Montoya. But for the most part, my training has been done at Port City MMA, under the tutelage of Jimmy Mills, Randy James, Jacob Jeffers, and Mike Barnett.
Oh, Iron Mike.
Yeah, Iron
All
Mike,
right.
man.
Shout out to Iron Mike. We like Iron Mike. But you have a potential move coming, correct? Like residential move.
Yeah, yeah. I have a potential residential move coming up. I'm gonna experiment with some camps in California and see how I like it. And you know, people will ask me like, why move out to California and stuff. It's not really all MMA related. It's more so just like I'm autistic,
Right.
so they have a lot of there's a lot more resources in a state like California for people on the spectrum. You know, like different, you know, groups you can talk to, and you know, different like CBD oil is readily available out there, and et cetera.
So now, actually kind of touching on that, do you think that being on the spectrum has either, I mean, I guess it could go both ways. Do you feel like it has hindered you or hurt your career anyway? Or do you think maybe because you have the ability to have that laser focus, it has helped you?
I think it's helped me in my career, just because I see things a lot differently than I can see things a lot differently than other people. Like
Right.
most people think in words, right? Like everybody that's normal or neurotypical thinks in words, whereas people on the spectrum, we all think in pictures. So it's a little different. Like, so like when people say, do you visualize, like a lot of athletes practice visualization. I don't have to practice that because
It's
all
just
my
part
thoughts
of it.
are, yeah, it's just part of it. So I think it benefits me in terms of my MMA career. You know, I mean, there's some parts where, you know, it gets a little tough sometimes. Like I have a lot of trouble falling asleep a lot of times just because I can be so obsessive. So
Because your mind's constantly working.
yeah, exactly. So it's like the CBD oil really helps me alleviate that and kind of helps me turn the power off, so to speak.
Right. But, and it's also kind of cool because, you know, you don't know how many, you know, younger kids, that are identical, might be like, oh, I want to play football or I want to be a fighter, but I can't because I'm on the spectrum. It's kind of cool that, you know, just your presence alone is like, no, it can be done. Look, I'm doing it. You know, kind of like a never give up thing. You're actually doing more than you know, because I'm sure there's kids that, you know, look for this stuff to kind of give them hope.
Yeah, I mean, my mom, one of her neighbors heard about my story, and signed her kid up for karate, and he loves it. And he's also a very good swimmer, and he's like phenomenal at swimming and karate now because he's found activities that he loves to do. And I mean, part of that too is just because part of that is my upbringing too. Like my parents just refused to accept that their son wasn't going to be able to speak. Like, I didn't speak till I was the age of 5. I was diagnosed at the age of 3. My parents just refused to put me in special education. You know, I came home, you know, they were trying to put me in special education at school. I came home and I told my mom, I said, Mom, school's too easy. I want to go to school with the other kids. You know, not that there's anything wrong with, I mean, I was a young kid at the time, so I didn't know what exactly was going on, but I could tell, like, I don't really belong here, you know? Not that there's any, I mean, I think special education programs are great, you know, we obviously need them, you know, but, you know, I just told and then my mom, my mom and my dad went to the school board and were like, hey, what the hell are you guys doing? You know, and so I got stuck in class with the regular kids, and I had great grades. I got my degree in exercise science from the University of South Alabama.
I actually wanted to touch on that too, actually, because you brought it up. I mean, I know you had your degree in exercise science, but you're an artist. You played college football, and you got the chance. You were at the NFL Combine doing an internship. How crazy was all of that? I mean, you went from they were trying to stick you in a course that you knew you didn't belong in to accomplishing all this stuff.
Yeah, so my internship wasn't with the NFL Combine. It was with Landau Performance. It's one of the best strength and conditioning facilities in the world, if not the best. Shout out to Lauren Landau, Eric Kelly, Whitney Wright, Nate Smock, Wrigley Reeves, Eric Kelly. Gosh, there's so many great coaches there. I'm gonna forget the name. I'm gonna forget their names. There's so many great coaches. I can't. Oh, Allison. Gosh, I can't remember all their names because they got so many good coaches, and each of the coaches.
How about we'll do this? He wants to thank everyone at Landau Performance, so no one is left out.
There you go. Yeah. So I got in. That's in Denver, in the suburb of Centennial, and so I was there when I was doing my internship. They were getting guys prepared for the NFL Combine and stuff, so it was really cool to experience that and be around some world-class coaches that knew what they were doing from the strength and conditioning aspect. I got to learn not only conditioning for football, but some tricks for baseball and MMA, which of course I love.
Right.
So, I mean, it's been an interesting journey, you know, and they embraced me with and gave me nothing but full support. Like they knew I was on the autism spectrum. Like I did an interview with them, right? And they only took I think they had like over 50 people interviewed, and they only took 4 of us. And I actually answered all the anatomy questions. Like they asked like what are the 4 quadricep muscles, and you know I immediately answer them. What are the rotator cuff muscles? You know, and I was able to answer them very quickly, and they were very surprised. And a lot of that just goes again to thinking in pictures, you know.
Right.
But to kind of reel it back in a little bit, I mean, I've been able to do a lot of great stuff, like play college football, play do these internships. You know, I used to be a really good artist when I was a kid. I actually had an art project. I got like a perfect score on it, right, in high school, and it was a painting of Scarface, like the cocaine scene, which I'm surprised my teacher let me do. You know, when he's got the mound of cocaine on the table. I wish I would have kept that.
It's pretty legendary, though, that scene.
Right, and I wish I would have kept that painting. I don't know why I didn't keep it, but my art teacher said you should go to school for painting. I just never ended up doing that. But, you know, So, I mean, I have a lot of interests, you know. I love sports, I love video games, I love drawing, I love comic books, manga, anime, like, I just have a lot of, I don't know what it is, man. I think it's important to have a lot of interests. You know,
Absolutely.
I think a lot of people, like in MMA, they kind of make the mistake of, they get so hyped up about fighting, and they're like, I'm always on, like, they're just constantly grinding, right? You hear that term all the time, grinding, this, grinding that, and then they get into their fights and they're like they're kind of stiff, you know?
Right.
Does that make sense? They're a little
Yeah.
stiff because they've been stressed out so much. And one of the biggest things I noticed when I was doing my internship with Landau Performance was the athletes that were the most relaxed and were just the most calm, you know, and focused and just ready to go, have some fun. Those guys were the ones that performed the best. So that's kind of what I've taken into my career, is just do what you love to do. If I do what I love to do, like throughout the day, whether it's MMA, video games, drawing, etc., I'm going to be more relaxed. I'm going to be having fun, and I'll be able to fire on all cylinders.
So now, moving forward, what do you have anything in the works? Can we expect to see you fight again soon, or are you just kind of hanging back for a little bit? What's next for you?
I'm getting back in there really soon, actually. I can't say the particulars, but it'll be sometime in the next couple of months, because I didn't take any damage in this last fight. My weight's still good to go. So I'm ready to rumble again this year. So you'll be hearing some fight news very soon.
Good. Actually, let me know as soon as it comes up so we can get it out there. Now, another interesting thing, and it's funny that you had brought up Iron Mike. You guys are actually admins in one of the biggest MMA Facebook groups, which is MMA Freaks. How did that come about, and how cool is it to be in there with 20,000 members? Some are fans, some are fighters, some are managers. You got a mix of everything. You got media in there. How cool is that to be able to get that interaction on such a big platform? You know, and you can kind of, you know, spread the word or whatever you're doing. And I see you on there, and you know, you interact and everything. How cool is that to actually get into something like that on top of the other million things that you do?
Oh, it's great. You know, I love interacting with the fans. I mean, the hardcore fans of the sport know everything, and they'll watch everything and have an appreciation for it. You know, they don't just watch, you know, the big UFC fights. They're watching, you know, they're going to their local MMA shows and supporting their local fighters. You know, they're watching, you know, the LFAs, the Bellators, and PFL, you know, Ryzen. They watch everything. I mean, those guys are absolute animals when it comes to, you know, their fandom. So it's truly amazing, you know. And my thing about, you know, my fighting career is I want to, you know, I want to have that kind of, I want to be, you know, somebody that the hardcore fans love, you know, end all be all, you know, or maybe they won't like me, who knows, but, you know, but maybe not like, but respect. If that makes sense. Mm-hmm. Like, they don't have to like me, but just respect me. Respect my skills and respect my hard work, dedication, and the time I put into it. You know, because the thing about it is, if you're gonna try to be loved by everybody, well, guess what? You're always gonna disappoint somebody.
Right.
So
that's just part of life.
Yeah. So don't. So that's kind of one of the hard lessons I learned about being on the autism spectrum. You know, they try to make you something you're not. You know, they try to coach you to be quote unquote normal when you can't be normal. And so you have a lot of emotional breakdowns and stuff because you're trying to do things that you're not good at. constantly. So
Right.
then I just stopped doing that. I just said, well, I'm just going to be myself, like me or hate me, whatever. I don't care anymore. I don't care what you think. I don't care what you think about me and my behaviors, because the people that do love me and respect me, they're, now I know who truly loves me and respects me for who I am, and not just, I'm not just an image that I'm putting out.
Well,
Everything goes.
I know the people in MMA freaks like you. I know a lot of people, like I said, that you could see it. People will ask questions, in hopes that you'll interact, and you're very good about it, actually. When people ask us if it pertains to you or if you can add some input from your experience, you're very good at getting out there, and you don't have an issue with talking to fans or other fighters or anybody that has a question. You're very interactive, so that's good for the group. It's good for MMA. It's good for everything all around.
Yeah, I think it's important to interact with the fans. I think, obviously there can be too much. I understand where fighters are coming from when sometimes they're doing so much media and it becomes overbearing. But I think a lot of the times they get so stressed out over doing media is because they want to portray a certain image, right? Like, so Conor McGregor's out there, talking all this trash, right? And he's trying to play a character. It's not like, maybe not character, but he's like exaggerating his personality. You know what I mean? Like, the thing about me is like, when I start doing media and stuff, you ask me a question, I'm going to just give you my honest answer, like, I'm not going to try to sit here and be like Captain America and try to be perfect, or I'm not going to sit here and talk, I'm not just going to sit here and give you the shit talking answer either. Sometimes it might come out as trash talk, sometimes it may come out, it may come out a certain way, but when you get it from me, it's going to be 100% genuine.
Right. And then one other thing I definitely want to touch on that I know we talked about, which I thought was pretty cool. Since you're on Facebook and stuff, and you do the group, but you're not overly involved with social media yet. But you're actually coming up with something that's a little bit different. You're going to be doing your social media over a Twitch channel, which I think is a great idea. So you're like we spoke about before, you're going to do some art stuff. You're going to do some training stuff. You're going to get on there and interact with fans for video games. So how did you actually end up coming up with that idea for your media outlet, and when can people expect to see you on there so they can get on and start subscribing and following everything you're doing?
So the idea came about because when I was up at Factory X, they have a lot of good fighters, and they do a good job of marketing themselves on social media, right? And I personally, I've never been a big fan of social media. I actually have a funny story about how I got my first social media account, but that might be for another day. But it's for me, I'm just not the kind of guy that I'm not going to document. I just don't feel comfortable documenting myself throughout the day. I don't want to. I'm not the type of person that's going to post something every single day. I'm not going to document like, hey, check out my 12-ounce ribeye that I got from Tino's Italian Steakhouse.
Right.
Like, I'm just, that's not the way, I do, like, that, I'm just not comfortable with it, and like I said before, whatever I'm doing, I'm going to be 100% genuine and honest, and it's going to be myself. It's not going to be, like, the image that I want people to see, And so, the idea of the Twitch came about because I'm like, obviously social media is very good for a fighter, to market themselves. But I don't want to do it the way other fighters do it because I'm not comfortable with it. So I'm not going to sit here and complain and be like, oh, I don't like social media, blah, blah, blah. Like, I'm not going to be that guy. I'm just going to say, okay, well, I'm going to do things on my own terms. So the idea for the Twitch channel just came about because, Here I can plug in I can just do my hobbies, that I always do on a daily basis anyways. Like I play video games all the time. I draw stuff all the time. I do martial arts all the time. And it's going to be something I'm completely comfortable with, and it's going to be fun, Like,
So it's not really like promoting yourself at that point. You're just doing you, and you're letting people get a glimpse of what that looks like.
Yeah, exactly. Like, and the other thing about social media too, people only put stuff on social media that they want people to see, right? Like, they're not gonna put on their social media account like, oh, I'm having a really, I'm having a really terrible time right now, or I made this mistake or whatever. Like, when you log into my Twitch channel and you see a black eye on my face, well, you know that I might have had a bad day at the gym or something. I got my ass kicked in sparring or something. I'm going to be 100% genuine and 100% transparent.
Well, that's a good, you know what though? That's a good thing. And the people that like what you're doing, even the people that might not like what you're doing, it will definitely be a breath of fresh air when, all right, if you had a bad day at the gym, then it's going to show. If you had a good day at the gym, it's going to show. But I think it's a good angle. I don't even want to say angle because it's really not an angle. It's just you being you. But I think I like the idea of the Twitch channel because Twitch is big now anyway, and I know there's a lot of fighters out there now that stream on Twitch, but it's usually just for video games. But nonetheless, they do it. And you're a PUBG Overwatch guy from the best that I've gathered, but you're going to have to convert over to be a Fortnite guy just so the rest of us can take part in your Twitch stream because I know that seems to be popular. But yeah, man, honestly, I think it's a great thing what you're doing. I think what you've done so far is great, and I mean, you have future plans, and you're not a guy that'll sit on your plans to wait to have them fall into your lap. You'll go out and get them, which is another exceptional quality. But before we forget, because I do that sometimes, I want to give you a minute before we go. I want you to thank anybody, your teammates, your sponsors, anybody that's kind of been a part of your journey that you would like to say thanks to. Take as long as you need. Definitely get those people in there.
Okay, so one thing I forgot to mention was my Twitch channel is going to be up and running probably in a month and a half to 2 months. I have to get a couple more components. I got to test out the stream first. I want it to run so that way it runs flawlessly right from the get-go. But I'd like to take this opportunity just to shout out Jordan Kurtz from Comments from the Peanut Gallery. It's a great podcast. He has phenomenal guests on. He's got, he'll have MMA fighters on to music artists. I mean, the whole 9 yards. It's a great show. I thank him so much for sponsoring me and giving me an outlet, to share my story and grow as not only as a fighter but as a person. And I would also like to thank Back in Motion Chiropractic in Daphne, Alabama. Dr. Ken Smith. I got into a really bad car accident and my neck was all kinds of jacked up, and now it's 100%, and I haven't had any problems since. I've been working with Dr. Ken Smith, and so that's Back in Motion Chiropractic in Daphne, Alabama. I'd like to thank Port City MMA and Factory X Muay Thai. They've been great places to train at. All my training partners that I've trained with in the past. But I'd like to thank, Randy James and Mike Barnett. They put a lot of time from Port City MMA. They put a lot of time and effort into building the fighter that you see today. Mike, he takes time out of his day, like to come early to the gym So me and him, you know, we worked one-on-one together a lot. Like, I can't tell you how many hours me and Mike have put in together, you know, to make sure that we're the best fighters we can be. And Randy, you know, he's a great striking coach, but most of all, he's a great person. He really cares about his fighters, and he wants to, but not just as, you know, fighters, but he cares about us as people, and he wants to see us succeed, you know, at the highest levels, not only as fighters, but as people. You know, we spent hours upon hours in his garage just perfecting our striking ability. But most of all, you know, he's a great friend that you can always talk to. I like to thank Jimmy Mills. He pulled me out of a really bad spot in my life. I was in a shroud of darkness. I didn't really have a purpose until I found martial arts. And he gave me an avenue to be my best self. I like to thank Mark Montoya from Factory X for letting me come to his gym and train while I was doing my internship at Landau Performance and taking a fight under his banner up in Denver, Colorado. And I'd like to thank Jim Walter, my manager. You know, my coach Mark Montoya, he hooks me up with him, and we're going to be doing a lot of great things in the future. He's done a great job so far, and he's got big plans for me in the future. So we're gonna keep going forward and killing the fight game one step at a time, one punch at a time.
There you go. And as for me, as always, I thank you for coming on. I know everybody's life is crazy, so it's kind of cool when you guys take time out of your training and everything else to come on and talk to us so we can get your story out there. I thank all the guys over at MMA Freaks, also a member of the group. Thanks to Iron Mike Barnett, since his name came up in this interview. You guys can follow Justin on, for now, on Facebook, or pop right into the MMA Freaks group. He's always there. He's very active. As for me, you can follow me on all social media at Nick Portella MMA. Go ahead. Did you have something else?
Oh, yeah. My Instagram is justin.osborn.712.
And there you go. Look him up on Instagram. But I talked to him before about it. I'm thinking the Twitch thing is going to be the way to go. But use Instagram for the next 6 weeks. And Justin, actually, go ahead.
But yeah, you'll see. I'll be posting and giving you updates on the Twitch channel on my Instagram and Facebook pages. So you know, when those posts come up, then you'll have a better idea of when the Twitch channel is going to come about.
Yeah, and actually, if you could do me a favor, whenever you have a fight announcement or the Twitch channel goes up, please let me know. We'll come back on. We'll do a quick little update for everybody that's following you. And hopefully, well, I wish you the best of luck in your career, and hopefully we get to talk again before your next fight, which you said would be in the next couple months.
Thanks again, Nick.
All right, Justin, you have a great day, sir.